Yo, what is up guys? It's Eddie here bringing you guys a brand new deck profile today, and today we're going to be deck profiling Maelstrom for Vanguard 0. So Maelstrom is a deck that I've been labbing for like the last week or so. Since the season started, I climbed like 20 legends with it. And the deck is pretty solid right now, so we're gonna, we're gonna go through what the deck contains. If you guys didn't know, first things first, if you guys didn't know, Maelstrom does indeed have 4 legs. So there's 1, there's 2, 3, and 4 legs. If you guys didn't know, whatever. Anyways, so the starter is going to be Blue Storm Cadet Marios. So when the attack unit, so its effect is that when the attack this unit boosted hits a Vanguard, if it is a third battle of that turn or more, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, add a Maelstrom to your hand, and add a card with the same name as that card from outside of your deck to your deck. So TLDR, third battle or more, if the boosted attack hits a Vanguard, search top 5, add a Maelstrom, take that same copy of Maelstrom, make a copy of it, and add it back to your deck. So it doesn't feel so bad to rip triggers. Normally you'd run the Grade 3 Searcher, but the Grade 3 Searcher does rip triggers out of your deck. And with Marios, you have a little bit more liberty of what you want to run in the deck. And there's a cool little combo I can show. I can talk about in a little bit where you can use Marios pretty effectively. We play 4 Wheel Assault because Wheel Assault is a 4th attack enabler, and it's just 4. I like 4 Wheel Assault. You can possibly bump this down to 3 to play a 4th Pengi, to play a 2nd Pengi, but I just like having the 4th attack enabler. But if you do bump this down to 3, then I recommend bumping up Basil to 2 and putting Maelstrom Reverse down to 3. But talk about that a little bit more later. We play 4 Sentinels because we fear God and we do not want to die, and we play 1 Pengi because Pengi is a draw 1. Again, you can bump it up to 2 if you want. I play 4 Self Pings. Self Pings are self-explanatory. They're powerful. Maelstrom has always ran its deck based on Self Pings, so yeah, we play 4 Grade 1 Self Pings. For the Grade 2 lineup, so first I want to touch on Algos. So Algos' effect is when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, if it's a 4th battle or more, you draw a card, and then when this unit attacks, if it is a 4th battle of that turn or more, you counterblast 1 to get 5k. So why do we play 4 Algos? Because Algos is our main Grade 2 ride target. With Marios' effect, you're going to want to be smacking your opponent 3 times on turn 2 if you don't have a Maelstrom in hand. And what happens when your opponent gets a defensive? Well, your Vanguard is on a 1 to pass already. Algos makes it so that our Vanguard is never on a 1 to pass, even if our opponent gets a trigger. So because let's say you swing with your rear guard and your opponent gets a defensive, and then you do 2 more attacks. Algos swings for 14. If your opponent's at 14 or 17, depending on what they rode, Algos can counterblast 1 and make himself 19 and scale over with the defensive. The only time this really doesn't work is when your opponent has a 10k base as a Vanguard, and we all know that 10k bases are cheating. Next, we play 4 Tidal Assaults. I play 4 because it combos with Algos really well. It's 2 attacks that count towards Marios, and then it's 2 attacks that count towards Algos as well. But this is also a really good 4th attack enabler on the Maelstrom turns, because your opponent sometimes just doesn't have double intercept, and if you don't have a Wheel Assault or a Basil or a Diamantes in your hand, this card can come in really clutch sometimes, so it's nice. Then we play 3 Basil. Again, another 4th attack enabler. It's just when it's the first battle of that turn, or if it's the first battle of that turn, it gets 3k power, and then at the end of the battle, you change positions with with Basil and the card in the same column, enabling your 4th attack, and then you can CB1 to have it ignore intercepts if your opponent does happen to have double intercept, or if your opponent just even has 1 intercept. If you always want to ignore intercept to get that 4th battle, unless you have Tidal Assault. In the situation where I have both Basil and Tidal and my opponent only has 1 intercept, I'd rather use Tidal Assault, because Tidal Assault is a free 4th attack enabler, and it's not first battle restricted, so it's whenever it just swings at the Vanguard, so it's really nice. And then we play 2 Self Pings. 2 Self Pings because I want to play 6 Self Pings. I just like Self Pings in the deck. They generally function really well for me. Because I want to make sure I'm always retiring my opponent's board with Maelstrom or Maelstrom Reverse. But if you don't feel comfortable playing 6 Self Ping and you only want to play like 5 self ping, then you can play a 4th Basil. Or if you really don't care about the Algos engine at all, to get your Maelstrom, then you could just cut this. You could just play a 4th Basil and cut the Algoses for a 12k attacker, for the Maelstrom 12k attacker. But the way your turn 2 should work is that it's right Algos, and then you call Basil to the front. You call Basil to the front, and you call Titles up to the back row. Basil attacks the Vanguard. It switches, and then Basil attacks the Vanguard, and then you switch. And then Tidal attacks the Vanguard. That's battle 2. Tidal will restand and you do it again, and that's for battle 3. And now you have 4 battles for Algos. The really good thing about Algos is that he does draw you a card on hit, and most of the time you will be hitting with his effect. So you will get a +2 to hand just off of Algos' effect, which is nice. It refills your hand after you've committed 2 extra cards to do it, to use the effect. Most of the time, you don't really want to like prioritize this unless like you desperately need a Maelstrom in hand. If you open base Maelstrom or reverse Maelstrom in your hand, you typically don't want to use Marios, and Marios is just a 5k booster. But I do think that Marios is the ideal starter for this deck. Next, we play 4 of the new boy, Blue Storm, Karma Dragon, Maelstrom reverse. So his ability is lock when they get the following ability. When this unit attacks, if it is the 4th battle of that turn or more, it gets 5k power and a crit until the end of battle. And at the end of the battle, you draw a card and retire one of your opponent's rear guard. So this is basically almost regular Maelstrom's effect, except it does get 5k and a crit, which is really nice for pushing out damage, especially when your opponent's on cross ride and your Basils can't hit, or your Diamantes can't hit by themselves. If your opponent has double intercept, then this pushes out that damage that you would have had otherwise, which is nice. But yeah, and then it's 3k when it gets 3k when it attacks. So on cross ride base by itself, it's swinging for 16. If you use the effect and you lock your booster, it swings for 21, so it scales over 1 defensive. If you're not on cross ride base, it only scales to 19, which means if your opponent gets a defensive, you're on a 1 to pass, which feels pretty bad. Which is another reason why I do run Tidal, because Tidal makes it so that I can lock the booster behind Tidal and still have the booster for Maelstrom reverse. And I'll still have the booster for Maelstrom reverse if I'm not on the cross ride base, which is really nice. But ideally, you want to be on cross ride base, especially for matchups like the Mirror. Liberators do sometimes struggle with cross ride bases, depending on the situation. And Silverthorns also struggle with cross ride base because they can't hit with Maruchika and call out another 16k column and hit you again because you're 18k. So most of the time you do want to be on 16k on cross ride with this card. Next we play 4 OG Maelstrom. OG Maelstrom is just really good. It's OG Maelstrom, like you don't need to lock anything, and it's basically the same thing as Maelstrom reverse, except he doesn't get a crit. So but most of the time you want to ride him first because you do want to guarantee that cross ride base. Another important reason why you want to guarantee that cross ride base is because the Glory Maelstrom is here. You guys know what Glory does. He steals people's lunches. You counterblast 2, you get, when he attacks, limit break 5. Counterblast 2, get 5k and a crit, and your opponent has to discard a grade 3 in order to PG. And if they don't, their Sentinel doesn't activate and they die. Pretty simple, and if you're on cross ride, he's limit break 4 instead of limit break 5. This card single-handedly wins me like a lot of my games, because there's some games where you just can't close out using Maelstrom reverse, so you have to fall back to good old reliable Glory Maelstrom to steal people's lunches. I want to say about half my games on Legend have been won. Half the ranks that I climbed with this deck on Legend have been won just on Glory's effect alone, which really speaks like a lot of volumes to the power of Glory's effect right now. And then for the 1-of slot, we play Diamantes. Diamantes is just the 1-of extra attacker. You can choose to play 2. You just cut down on Karma Maelstrom. You cut down from 4 Karma Maelstrom to 3, and the reason we cut Karma Maelstrom instead of regular Maelstrom is, well, because regular Maelstrom doesn't need to lock anything for its effect, and Karma does. It's pretty much self-explanatory as to why you do that. So then, if you want to play 2 Diamantes, then you play 3. Then you play 3 Karma, 4 regular, 4 Glory, and 2 Diamantes on draw. It is 9 draw. There is no other way to play this deck, in my opinion. You don't want to be playing you don't want to be playing any crits with this deck because you need your pieces in hand, and this deck can struggle to get hand sometimes, even though you do draw a fair bit in this deck. But yeah, I think that's it for the deck profile. Right. We also run 12 Maelstroms because I never want to whip with Mario's. Regardless of whether Mario's gets me a card that I already have in hand or if it gets me my ideal first ride, checking top 5 and checking two Diamantes actually hurts. So we actually just play 12 Maelstroms so that Mario's just never whips, because after your turn 2 play with Algos, this will always most likely always hit unless they're at 5 already. So Mario's can search you either your cross ride, Mario's can just search you your cross ride bases, but it can also search you another attacker, another 11k attacker. So most of the time you will end up with a hand of grade 3s due to Mario's, but you'll have like the normal amount of grade 3s in your deck. But so it's really good. But yeah, that's it for the deck profile, guys. We're gonna get into some games. Let me know what other deck profiles you guys want to see, and we'll catch you guys later. Bye.
There once was a ship that put to sea, and the name of that ship was the Billy O.T. The winds blew harder, bowed it down, blow me bully boys blow. She had not been 2 weeks from shore, but down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. We'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore, but down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Before the boat had hit the water, the whale's tail came up and caught her. Hands to the side, harpooned and fought her, and she dived down below. The wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come. One day when the tonguing is done. Soon may the wellerman come. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Was a ship that put to sea, and the name of that ship was the Billy O.T. The winds blew harder, bowed it down, blow me bully boys blow. She had not been 2 weeks from shore, but down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. We'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore, but down on her a right whale bore. The captain captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Before the boat had hit the water, the whale's tail came up and caught her. Hands to the side, harpooned and fought her, and she dived down below.
One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.
Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.